everybody's got this on their screen, right?
Yes.
It's all good. All right. Yeah. So during our travels, I don't think you can see this, but this is ink and watercolor. So we're going to do something similar to this. Um, this is just cold press paper. It's Fabriano paper. I like doing these when I'm traveling. So this is the sketchbook of going to Greece and Paris. So the one we're going to do tonight, I took a couple of photos of this scene here. There we go.
David, when you showed your sketchbook, do you buy those that way or did you have to make it with Fabriano paper?
Lower that one.
What we did, it comes that way.
It does.
It's called the Perfect Sketchbook. And they're made in Malaysia, I believe. And you order them online. They're limited edition. So, and they're a little pricey. I'll put it that way, but they're very well made. They use a Fabriano 140 cold press, and it's leather bound too. So I made it special to make sure that I filled up that sketchbook when I was traveling last year. So so in front of you here, you see two photographs of scenes that I've seen in Paris, and the street scene and this close-up of the restaurant. They're both very paintable, in my opinion. And the reason is that I do like the shapes in the street scene, and I think what attracted me to this scene here, which is the one we're going to do tonight, is has to do with the red against the green, that contrast. So there's color contrast, and there's also the waiter is the sort of the star of the show there with his black and white uniform. It's very iconic kind of look here, and that's the one I chose for us to do, to draw and paint tonight.
Shadows.
One of the things about what I'm looking for also, when I'm painting outdoors, I come across scenes all the time, but what I'm going to be doing tonight is sort of talk about, what I'm looking at and what I need to do is in terms of editing this and simplifying what I'm seeing. And so when I'm outdoors, it's in my mind what I'm doing, but when I'm doing this workshop or this demo here, I want to share with you what I'm thinking. So when I look at a scene like this, I'm going, okay, this is, even though it's a photo, if I'm outdoors plein air painting, the key word for me is simplification. Simplify, simplify, simplify as much as I can. So I decided sort of the focal point's going to be in here with this waiter. But as you notice, there's other figures in here that in my mind are distracting. So what I want to show you is how I want to simplify, and I'm going to use some gouache paint to simplify this and modify a photo that we have here. So I have in addition to those watercolors, I just want to demonstrate for you what I do when I want to simplify a scene here. So I've just got some gouache paint here, and it's about removing some things that are a little distracting. So I'm going to take a little white and a little black and begin to take out some of these figures. They're a little distracting. there's another waiter back in here. You can see him. I'm gonna pop out some of that white apron and you can see him. It's just a suggestion of where things are gonna go in here. Yeah, so this is what I'm doing in my mind. If I'm out looking at a scene out in the street, I tell myself, okay, what's going to stay and I need to remove to help simplify some of the complexity of a scene. And so while I'm doing this in gouache right now, just picture me thinking in my mind, oh, I don't like that guy. I take this guy away, put this one in. Maybe that figure's in here, legs out in here. The background, this building in the back, oops, wrong color. But you get the idea. I'm trying to simplify this. Maybe there's another figure in the background over here. So now this scene has the waiter, two waiters, and the rest of the patrons in that outdoor place. Okay. So you'll notice also in the picture in picture in the upper right corner is the edited version of this same scene. All right. So that's what I did. I took a picture of it. So I wanted to show you how I use gouache to simplify this scene. Let's say, for example, I wanted to maybe perhaps darken the street or something. I could do that also. Maybe there's a shadow in here or something. Get the direction of the sunlight. It's those kind of things I could, when I have a photo, I could edit it the way I'm would be seeing it if I was outdoor painting, and how to simplify. Okay. So that's the gouache. Are there any questions out there coming in? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So get yourself a piece of paper. I'm using a big old chunk of 11 by 14. And hopefully you could see this, what I'm doing here. So I had the modified photo. Let's slide this down a little here. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to start with a contour drawing of this scene. So start up on the roof here. I put little tick marks in here to remind me where I'm at on the paper. I'm going to start at the roof, come down the wall. I'm onto the red awning now, step down. It's got a little angle to it here. I'm not using a pencil to do this. I'm just going to go ahead and ink this in. This does take some practice. So this is, I start out drawing like this. long time ago in my architect days. So this always helped me to practice freehand drawing. So I'm
So
going to do the
David, you actually started out with the dots to locate key things on the paper, and then you kind of headed for the dots?
Yes,
Nice.
just some guide dots, like where would the corner go? Where
Yeah.
would, the end go? And where would the figures go? So in here, that's sort of the profile right now of the building. I'm going to bring this down over here. What I started is up here, came down here and did this profile of the contour drawing of the building edge, and then came around with the awning. And then now I got to come down the face of that building beyond it over by where the waiter is here. So it'd come down like that. Okay. So the dots sort of help me place things. And so I'm going to put in a very light, and you could do this with pencil if you wanted to. So let me just get a pencil. I'm going to put in a horizon line here. This is the eye level where I took my photograph at. And the waiter's head, that waiter's head is now going to be located about here on this horizon line. So I'm going to go ahead and do as a marker here, do a contour drawing of the waiter.
So do you always do your contours in ink, or sometimes do you do them in pencil?
If it's really complicated, I'll block it out in pencil and then come back in and come back in with ink. But for the sake of, sort of getting this done tonight, I'm taking a little bit of a risk and not being too careful, but I do want to get, things taken care of here in time. So. Okay. I'll put my drawing up here so you can see it here. Okay. Okay. While I'm talking about figures, I want to remind you that I had you actually, I gave you some photos of people. So what I do to practice doing figures, for example, these two people sitting down, I'm going to put them in this scene over here. Or a person walking into the scene. I may replace the person that was over here and put that person walking into a scene. It could be like over here or something. But the idea here is to take reference photos and then use these reference photos as needed, people walking or whatever, waiters, mailmen, whatever it is, people sitting down in cafes and stuff, and practice doing these contour drawings like I'm doing now with this person here.
Ah.
Well, you got a
And
photo.
typically when you're traveling, do you just do the contour out and about and then go back to your hotel and paint it, or do you do both while you're out?
I do both. I try to get it done in one go.
Nice.
It takes, of course it takes practice. Don't let that discourage you, but that's part of, doing our art. We just got to get in there and do it. So like this person walking here, I didn't put in the clothes yet, but practice doing contour drawings. And as I may have mentioned before, remember the heads on the horizon line. So these folks back here maybe their head, maybe the body's smaller, but the take a photograph that you have, get the people in it, and put a horizon line in there and do some contour drawing for your figures. Okay, so that's the thing on figures. I'm still going to put these people over here where they're sitting down. And while I'm at it, I'm going to take this one here, this photo here, and put these people sitting down. So relative to this waiter, I think that's the head is probably about where his elbow is. So I'm going to start there with this person sitting down over here and begin a contour drawing of her. Put the chair underneath here, the legs. When you're doing tables, get the table in. That helps, you know, position people. And then her friend here, he's sitting down. Another contour over here, sitting down, the legs. Over here, there's another person in silhouette here. No detail, just the contour at this point. Some other people sitting down here. Another person standing up in the back. Another head here. What I like to do is as we go along here, and then put the other waiter, he's back over here. Here, he's got a white shirt. So I'm going to block in some of the doors and windows. You always have those chalkboard menus, right? This one happens to be over here. Door. While I'm at it, the figure over here, sitting down, put the table in. Then there's a person to a person's back to us. Put the chair in. think I'm going to stop about there. Guy's vest. I'm starting to indicate some of the darks in here. Got a little ahead of myself in there. But right now, I think it's just the most important thing is just sort of get the contour lines in here. I'm going to take the person over in this photo. I'm gonna make him walking into the scene here. I practiced him already, so see if I could get him now. Maybe a little window behind him.
You want to ask if people are following, are you going too fast?
David, somebody wants to know if you like the bound sketchbooks better than a spiral bound sketchbook.
I do like the bound ones better, primarily because, let me just open one up here. When you do a sketch, you could go all the way across, so you won't have the spiral sitting here in the middle. So if you want to do horizontal landscapes or something, you're not bothered with having a spiral in the middle. So this one's hand stitched. So when they stitch the pages together, they put, they're hand stitched, and it lays pretty flat, this particular kind of book here. So I do prefer not having the spiral bound ones. Okay. Wow, we're moving right along here with this. I'm going to add a few more little figures in here, liven up the scene. The bottom of buildings, make sure you got I'm going to change pens here. And make sure that I have a thicker line down here at the bottom. What I call it, it makes everything sit on the ground when you have a good strong line here at the bottom of something. Okay. Okay. Good. I'm gonna start looking at those trees that we had. So this tree over here in our drawing here. So this is a representation of this tree here. And when we're sketching with ink here, look at the edges of these leaves here. Also the little, I call them air holes. They're actually where you could see a branch through the bush, through the leaves here. So the trunk comes up and part of the trunk comes up through here. Call them air holes for lack of a better room, but it does help indicate that it's not a totally dense tree. And also the edges of this tree, these leaves are not round. They're sort of little stylistic. So whatever you decide, you could do, round leaves like that, or you could do pointed ones like that. You could use your own little calligraphy to indicate the types of leaves that are on a tree. So let's go ahead and put in indication of these trees by indicating these kind of leaves here. So I'm going to use this as a model here, put it over here. And looking at our sketch, there's some, just start. There's no right or wrong to this. This tree is right up to the building here in our drawing. So
Random.
I'm going to put in an air hole here.
Random.
Look at the overall shape, but the leaves themselves are pretty random. But if you look at the overall shape, it's going to be something like this. Let me just quickly outline it. Maybe there's two trees. Again, I'm doing this in contour, a contour drawing of a tree.
Camera.
Almost lost me there. Okay, there we go. Look how I'm holding the pencil or the pen. It's back here. It makes it for a loose kind of drawing, just the way you hold your pen. So if you're tightening up your hands down here, you want to loosen up, it's back here. These trunks I'm going to indicate with some hatch lines. Again, I'm going to put another tree over here. This is so different than, if we were at the meeting hall in Walnut Creek. I mean, you guys are really quiet.
Muted.
We need some background noise like they do in the
Oh,
games.
We're working.
how about the flight of the bumblebee music?
David, we're all here. There's over 90 of us just watching you in
Okay.
fascination. So not
Okay.
to worry.
Okay. Well, get your pens out and start drawing. You got to help me here. This is pretty random here. I could see that. Okay. There we go.
Looking
No
at the
right-
photo, or are
Say again.
you looking at the photo anymore?
No. What photo? I'm just looking at now.
Okay.
I'm sort of looking at what would make a interesting composition here. It sort of fills in. There's a little rhythm in these trees here. I'm going to put a fifth one in here. Then in the background, in the distance over in here, there's a building back here. And I'm just going to put in a few little L's or J's in here to symbolize some windows here. Maybe the top of a building here. And then the end of a building. I'm going to put a little wall back here, a little block wall.
David, when you're outdoors sketching, do people come along and make comments? And if so, how do you take that?
They're always interested in seeing what you're doing, and it's out of curiosity. Mostly, it's very easy to get self-conscious, but I want to remind people that when you're out there sketching, you're the ambassador of our art. That's one way to look at it. People admire those who are out there painting plein air, and especially people are sketching. If you go to these little small towns and villages, people are actually, they're very proud of their town. And when someone stops to draw or paint their little city or their town square or something, they're actually very flattered that you're doing it. And I allow them to take pictures of what I'm doing in my sketchbook, and I give them a business card. And I've had people, email me and tell me that it really made their vacation when they saw me and saw me painting and stuff. So just remember, you're the ambassador of art, and carry on. Okay.
I'm not getting a lot of questions here, and I'm wondering if people could go ahead and just direct their questions to everybody. Then I will see them and I can pass them along. You don't have to direct them to me or not to David, because he's not seeing them. Just to let you know.
Okay. Okay, so got a lot of stuff happening down here. I'm going to go ahead and put in the umbrella here, or the awning.
Would you say it's just experience that helps you to know what to put in and what to leave out?
Part experience and then part it is experience, because you want to know when to stop. Because I could keep going on in here and get into a lot of little detail, but what I'm looking for, does it tell the story? Is there enough there that tells a story? And is it the composition pleasing? Is it getting what I'm after here? That's pretty much what I'm looking for. It tells me to stop and
Someone would like to know if you eventually turn your sketches into paintings.
Yes, I do. So I've done this particular scene as a painting before, and I like the way it turned out. But yes, some of these sketches, along with reference photographs, now that we're in COVID land, I'm back in the studio a lot more because I used to paint a lot outdoors, but now I'm painting a lot more in studio. So I'm looking back through my sketchbooks and reference photos, and I'm asking myself when I sit down is I'm looking at composition and what did I see in that scene, or what does this remind me of? Um, what's the story I'm going to tell? So yes, the sketches do help. The thing is, when I'm doing them quickly, you get the essence of something as well. So it's a good reference, uh, and helps you not overpaint something. You just try to not mimic the idea of what the sketch is saying. So um, let's get some of these windows over here. Yeah.
One of our members would like you to give pointers on how to put in figures from various source material and have them mesh as if they were photographed together. Is there a rule about where heads should line up and they're the right size relative to each other?
Yes. So it's about scale. Scale of the figure, the scale of the building, the scale of the surroundings. But generally, I'm always thinking about where the horizon or your eye level is. And I'm trying to keep the heads, if someone's standing, whether they're short or tall, it's relative to your viewpoint or your eye line. So test it out. And what you could do is actually use a piece of acetate and draw the figure on the acetate and move it around the your composition and see where it belongs. And the other part of it is what scale is it at. Now, if it's a big foreground figure, then you can put a lot of detail. As it recedes in the distance, is less detail, right? The other thing about doing these figures in compositions and stuff, you need to practice drawing them, but also you're going to practice painting them with your brush. I'm drawing with your brush. So I'm going to take just a little example here of what I mean by that. So I'm going to get some paint over here. Let's this up. So here I am. I'm not even going to draw that waiter, but I'm going to put this over here. You can see this. This is a good idea. Here, look at this. Straight across. Head. I got the shape of this vest. The legs. And here I am. I'm drawing with the brush here. So without drawing, you could draw actually with your brush. doing figures like that, people sitting down. Same thing when I do with my pen, I'm going to do with my brush now. Practice doing this and you begin to get pretty not proficient, but you know, it helps your confidence when you're starting to paint with your brush. You could draw with your brush. Heads on the horizon line. Okay. But put a piece of acetate, take a watercolor marker and do a contour figure and test where you want to put those figures in your paintings and then add them later. And like I said, it's a good idea to have a bunch of reference photos to draw from. So take some pictures, print them out like this, practice drawing and practice painting them. That's my advice. Okay. I'm going to get this other window. These window openings had little planters and metal, what are these? There we go.
It's 5 to 8.
Okay. Right.
David, when you were out on site sketching or painting, do you take a photo of it at that time also to refer to it as you sketch it so that you can freeze the people essentially, or not?
Yes, I actually take reference photos. So later on, you never know when you're going to paint it. And sometimes when I'm drawing like this, I only have time to draw it. And so I don't have time to paint it. So time to get back on the tour bus or whatever. The bus is leaving. David, get over here. So what I'll have to do then is close the sketchbook up, take a couple of reference photos that I could take a look at later and add the color to this. Okay. Before our break, I'm going to put in a wash. A wash on this building here. Sort of a yellow, it got a little yellow and a little ochre. And I'm graying it down a little. And I'm just going to put that very light wash in here because over a 10-minute period, I'm going to want to make sure it dries. So just add. These buildings in the distance here are a little gray, so I'm going to get a little bit of the make some gray. So I'm going to take a little burnt sienna and some ultramarine and just add some gray back in here for these buildings in the distance. I'm not going to paint the trees yet, but it's a very light wash here without the darks in it. Okay.
Question, is that Davies gray on your palette?
It's actually this one here, this
Yeah.
one is like a burnt sienna and a ultramarine.
Carol wants to know how wet you are painting in your sketchbook in
It's
case you have
just
to catch the bus.
this one is I paint. I do not saturate the sketchbook. I do not saturate these sketches. I don't stretch the paper either, you know, so it's not taped down or anything. So it's a light wash. So light wash on the building. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock. We're going to take a 10-minute break. I'm going to move this over to here.
David, is that a neutral tint that you used?
Neutral tint.
I do have a neutral tint, and you could use that, but these are just mixed colors here with this burnt sienna and ultramarine, but it does, you know, produce something like a neutral tint. Neutral tint is going to get a lot darker than this, but you could use a neutral tint back in here. Just water it down. Whatever gray that you have, fine. It's just, you know, we're just putting down washes right now. Okay, let me get this lined up here. Reference photo. This is getting dry here, so the light wash really helped. Welcome back. What do you any other questions before we get going? Okay.
I do have one other question here. One of our participants would like to know if you're doing ink drawings, is it best to use hot press watercolor paper?
So hot press, cold press, or rough. Any of those is a good. Any of those will work. It's just the amount of texture that you want. Hot press is much easier to draw with ink. It flows right on there. It doesn't have a tooth on it. So if you like the line work, doing line work, and I would say that it's easier to draw on with ink pen on hot press. So for the ease of use, I would say that's what I would use hot press for. If you like rough paper, and you're using, you just have to be aware that that line is not going to be smooth. It's going to look bumpy, but some people's drawing style, it works. I'm sort of down the middle when I'm doing ink. I use this cold press. It's got a little tooth on it, and then it takes the washes really nicely. Hot press, the washes tend to get a little smudgy looking. They don't behave as well, but that could be a stylistic advantage some people want. Okay. Okay, so this is nice and dry. I'm going to start here on the top and then work into these trees and get the umbrella done. And one of the last things I'm going to do is, before I start anything, I'm going to take a little thicker nib pen. This is it's a chisel point pen, and it's got a thick edge on it. And I'm going to reinforce the edges on here a little. See how thick that line is? So I'm going to go ahead and do the contour with a little thicker line here. And because I want it to pop a little more. So I got the bottom line thick, and then up in here, I'm going to thicken this a little. I'm going to nose a little. Doorways, I'm going to thicken. Window. That line there. The edge
David,
of
I
the
have
door.
another question. Someone would like to know, what if you want soft edges? How does that work with the dark pen lines?
It doesn't. It's not like I'm painting to achieve soft edges like when we're doing just a pure watercolor. This is about line work, and soft edges can appear in clouds, but soon as you start to put a hard line in here, all the soft edges go away, basically. This is not about soft edges. It's about line work. So when you're doing ink and watercolor, you can put in soft edges in some of your washes. That's fine, but to achieve an overall soft quality, it's really it's a different animal here. What we're dealing with is ink lines, basically. It's a drawing.
Sally wants to know if you have any advice on drawing windows.
Advice on drawing windows is look for the shadows. Which way is the direction of the sun coming? So for example, in here, I'm putting the shadow side of this window here.
So your sun is coming from the left?
Say again, please.
Is the
Sun,
sun,
that means the sun is coming from the left.
Yeah, we're going to make it come from this direction here. So the direction of the sun is in here, even though my, yeah, from the left to the right. Okay. What else? I'm going to look now back over my reference sketch here. Pull this down a little. Take a closer look at some of these dark lines here where I'm going to put them. Okay, so same with the underside of the tree. The bottom side of the tree is in the of the these holes here are going to be in shadow. So I want to emphasize that a little, and maybe this clump over here. I'm going to crosshatch, put a little bow through here. I'm going to indicate some figures sitting on some bar stools back here. so you could see through this doorway. The sign has a little wording on it here. These have awnings in. I didn't notice that. I just saw that. So let's put in an awning. It's gonna be a little tricky because I already drew the thick line over it, but doesn't have any fabric on it now. Let's see. Let's just do this. There we go. Maybe a curtain. Okay, that one's done. You could keep going on and on in this, obviously, but we want to make sure we finish on time here.
What other,
Okay,
other things
go ahead.
do, David, if you had time?
Okay. I'm going to do soft edge clouds. How's that? So here we go. Clear water. So I just put a wash of clear water over here. Take a little cobalt blue and randomly drop it into the water. And we have some soft edge clouds after all. Oh, you can see
David,
that.
I have a question for you. Somebody would like to know your thoughts about putting in readable signage.
Okay. Readable signage. Unless you're a calligrapher, I wouldn't put it in. I would indicate it. I scribble them in, and I'm going to show you how. I know, like, for example, there's print over here, right? I'm going to indicate that later, but I'm not going to spell out the word in really accurate looking script. Because unless you do it well, it's going to look awful. I'm never successful at putting it, unless it's real simple block letters. Um, I want to indicate that there's some kind of thing, but I'm not trying to state it. I'm going to turn this down. You can see the color a little better. There we go. I'm adjusting the light in here. Okay. While that's happening, I'm going to reach for some olive, a little bit of cobalt blue, and a little olive in here. Add a little blue to that olive, darken it. Again, I'm trying to keep this pretty loose. I'm not trying to paint every leaf. I'm just indicating this color, and I'm bringing it over to these windows. Maybe underneath this little.
And you said that's an olive green that you used?
Olive green, and then I'm going to use a little cobalt with it. And while it's still wet, I'm going to drop in this cobalt blue, darken it up a little. While it's still wet, I'm going to go in there with some yellow, pop that in at the tops. It's all wet on wet here. I'm going to make this nice and colorful here as best we can. Okay.
And can you tell us a little more about that brush that you're using?
Yeah, this is a mop brush, squirrel mop. It's very soft. It's holds a ton of water, and it's great for putting washes down. I use it primarily for putting washes down, skies, trees, everywhere I need a big chunk of color. And then gradation also. I'm going to try it with the awning here. So let's not mess around here. I have is a red and an orange. See that brush puts it down very quickly. Use it other places, that same red. Yellow, orange.
David, how did your background as an architect affect your style as a painter?
Style wise, I tend to I like drawing buildings. I like linear perspective, and I like teaching it as well. But I think that's the influence, is that I like linear perspective. I like shadows a lot. See, the other thing about architecture, I think one thing is the process of painting and the process of building is very similar. You have to plan and then you have to execute. So that's something that's similar. The other thing is, I think with having the architecture background definitely helps with the drawing part. Made it easy for a lot of architects and designers to transition into painting. Okay, so we got a lot of warm in there. This is drying good. This is drying. This is drying. So now the fun part of putting all this color in here very quickly, I'm gonna you go. Got the trees. I'm going to mix a blue in here and create a nice violet. Put some of that in here.
Did you say this was Paris?
Is this Paris? This is Paris.
Yeah, this is Paris.
Do you ever put animals in your restaurants?
Oh, I can. I have animals like sitting down or begging.
Oh, no, the pets, of course.
Oh, cats. You mean like
No,
when-
the pets. The people bring their animals with them to the cafe.
Oh, I didn't notice that. But like right here,
Yeah.
I see. I don't want to make it look like a big rat there, but I know this guy's walking his dog over here. I see that. He's got a little poochie right here.
There you go. That's great.
Is
Thanks.
that getting it now? Okay. See, with this, you can't go wrong. Everything that you do here, it's all good.
It's looking fantastic.
Yeah. And wait till we pop all these shadows in here. This thing's going to really pop pretty good. How are we doing on time? Got another.
8:35.
Okay. Hey, Michelle. Are you there?
Yes.
I
Yes.
just thought of something.
What's that?
Let's auction this sketch off after I finish it to CWA.
Hey, that sounds like a good idea.
Huh? And then we'll spend the last, people in the chat. We could start off with $10.
Okay.
And then have people send you their bid. And then we close the bid at 5 minutes to 9. How's that?
That sounds good to me. What do you say, Carol?
Well, let me unmute first before I respond. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. We can do that. And yeah, it'll be a little bit of added excitement tonight.
Yes.
Thank you for the idea, David.
Oh, you're welcome.
And for the contribution.
Sure. So whoever the winner is, Michelle, you just get their address and I'll pop this in the mail tomorrow.
Okay, very good.
And Carol, you just choose where you ever need the, whatever you're funding, whatever you need it, that's where it's going to go. Okay.
Oh, David, you know that right now we're trying to get the upgrade to the website going here.
Well, there you go. Let me be the first contribution.
Oh, thank you, David.
You're welcome. That's fun.
That would be awesome. We're looking forward to getting that website so it's compatible with all different types of platforms and just easier to use.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so
So I'm going to start out the bidding at $10 and put it on the chat and let anybody else who wants to continue from there, or if not, I'm going to get a beautiful painting for $10.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
Well, you know where my favorite place and my husband's favorite place is to go. So we'll
Ah,
start seeing where the chat numbers go.
Okay.
looks like we're up to $20 already.
Yay.
I'm loving this, David. I love the way the colors pop and mesh together at the same time.
Excellent. Okay.
All right, we got another bid for 30. And another for 35. And another for 45.
Looking good. Okay. Okay, we're looking good, looking good.
We just got a bid for 75.
What time are we stopping the bidding?
Um,
9:55.
8:55.
Okay, we got 15 minutes.
Yeah, they're still working on their paintings. This has been fun, actually. You know, we could it's all good here.
You're setting a great precedent.
I'm gonna put a cool color over here. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Cool gray or purple or violet here. Okay, hold on.
Lost you for a minute.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh.
We've got an $80 bid now.
Okay. Okay, so I got some shadows. I made this nice big puddle of violet here.
And how do you decide where and how much?
That's a design thing. This puddle here has to create shadows enough. I want to make it in one go, and I want to put it down once. So, and I'm going to use it underneath the tables, back out the other side. So if the sun's coming from this direction here, it's casting a shadow back and through here, let's say. Okay. These trees create shadow, and so some of these people under here are in shadow. So you got to make sure when you mix this up, you have enough. And I inevitably usually run out. So here we go. Okay, so just got this cornice here. That's going to be in shadow. So look at this picture it has. Great shadows. Comes around the corner and does that. The shadow there. Window opening has shadow.
So do you try to make the shadows darker in some areas than others?
Um, Not necessarily. When I'm mixing it up, I have to make sure it's dark enough because it's going to dry lighter. So I definitely want um, this one. You can't be timid. The tendency is to not make these shadows dark enough. But I have to tell you, when you put that dark shadow up against in here, it really makes that building pop, doesn't it? When you have a good strong shadow there.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get actually like a yellow pencil. And it's like a yellow crayon of some sort. And I'm gonna put in the name of the building in there. So I'll be right back. All right. I have a little piece of chalk. You can see that and I'm going to put some indication of lettering on here.
Is that like an oil pastel stick?
Yeah, it's new pastel. So technically now this is a mixed media painting, isn't it? But that's a quick, I usually have like a yellow Prismacolor pencil, a white one, a white and a yellow. And, you know, I'll indicate, like, for example, you could use them for lettering and whatnot. I'm going to put in a little tone here on the bottom. Warm it up. There we go.
So somebody indicated in our chat that it's not that's not technically an oil pastel. It's a very hard, soft pastel.
Yeah, it's not oil. It's like chalk probably. They call it a firm pastel color stick. Um,
It looks great on there. I love the signage.
yeah, it's just indicated. It's, you know, 10 seconds, it's done, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna write my name on here. Yep.
We just got a $90 bid. And somebody is asking, what about putting in darks in the tree area? Are you going to do anything more with that?
Yeah, you could certainly. Put them underneath some of these branches in here. That was fun.
That's
So-
fantastic, David.
It sure is. I